I'm Senator Laura Thielen. Heidi Smith had told me about the walk audit that had been done in Kailua and offered to make it available to other districts. And because we have a lot of kids here that are biking and walking to school, thought it would be good for us to take a look at Waimanalo and then bring in the various partners. So we got neighborhood board. We hope to get somebody from the health center here. I'm not sure. Oh, okay, so maybe when we go around and do introductions, everyone can say who they're with. But ultimately, Keikoa Ho is here too for neighborhood board. Just trying to find a way to make the Waimanalo sidewalks safer and more inviting for walking and biking for the kids and adults too, for healthier lifestyle.
I want to talk a little bit about the whole way we conduct walking audits to teach ourselves how to see the world differently than we would if we were just designing the place for a car. And when we walk and talk, understand that all the things that you've been doing as a community are an act of progression. That there's no such thing as a finished city, ever. Cities are organic. But we try to identify those things that aren't going as well as we'd like, and we make those corrections. But the particular lens that I wear is that of walkability. How to make places safer for people who aren't living their lives in their cars. They're trying to improve their neighborhoods, their shopping districts, their sense of identity, preserve their culture, all those things. So as we walk and talk, let's feature those things that you're really proud of and you'd like to do a lot more of, or things that, yeah, we could probably make these changes, make them safer. And I think there was a key emphasis on our children. With our idea to stay in shape whenever we can. What is this facility down here?
This is the National Guard training facility.
Okay.
The back end, the back road in. Yeah.
And then another entry into the shopping area here. The things that I like to point out that can become a standard so that we do things better in the future. Notice that this road once had a double yellow line, and yet it's only, 500 feet long? And we used to do things like that, paint double yellow lines, because of its, what we call functional classification. If it's a collector, then we say, yeah, it has to have that. What we're realizing, though, is that when we put in double yellow lines, voters tend to drive faster. And so there's so many roads we could save the money, not paint the lines, and get the speeds a little lower. And one reason the speeds become lower is the voters don't know exactly where the center is, and therefore they just don't drive quite as fast. So it looks like they're letting it wear out, and I'm sure that's the policy. And so we need to do more of that. Save money, get the speeds a little lower, and as we walk and talk, we'll see some other examples and opportunities as well. But the thing I wanted to also point out, take a look at how wide this side street intersection is. A good side street intersection should not be more than about 28 feet wide. Well, I'll measure this in just a second, but I'm going to come up with a guess that it's close to 58 feet. And it doesn't need to be, we can get military vehicles in normal lane widths, but the point is, and you're going to see this on other side streets too, is we overbuilt things for one use and didn't think about what the impact would be, for example, children walking along the street, getting across. And also, when we make things too wide, it just discourages walking altogether. So look at the other side of the street, how wide and long those driveways are. And again, it discourages people from doing something we'd like them to be able to do. So as we walk and we'll talk about the kind of code that Honolulu wants to adopt over time to make it a more pedestrian-friendly area. Right? Yeah. So let's get a measurement, but it's going to be wide.
I know, thank you. The police officers have been great at trying to keep that.
Simply because we had a standard we were following, and we had the land to do it. and the money to do it. But now we're saying we could do everything we need to do in about 28 or 30 feet. So this is what DTS and the open time the state will look at. Does that all make sense? Okay. So let's walk down to the stuff. The posted speed here?
25.
And what is the observed speed here?
35, 40. Yeah. Sometimes 45.
So, a lot of my recommendations are going to address the issue of speed. That if this is appropriately a speed that should be 25, but it's 30, 35 or higher, this motor is really good. It's a way we design so that motors don't drive too fast. We call it achieving the target speed. We want the speed to be 25, so we put treatments in that bring the speeds down. I just measured the lane width. The lanes are 11 feet wide. That's not as big as a lot of road lanes. Some get up to 12. Some get up even more than that. So 11 isn't tight. One way we might bring the speed down a little bit, but the state will follow communities. The state's not ready to go out and be the leaders in the field. But we can narrow that lane down to 10 feet. And when you lane narrow, you get more vigilance from the drivers. A little lower speed, but they're more vigilant because they can't be texting and driving at the same time and stay in their lane. So that's one thing we could do. All that is a matter of moving paint. But typically, the city needs to put in those types of treatments and make those assessments and evaluations before you get the state to follow suit. Is that your experience? Yeah.
We're doing that now. A lot of our roads, the lanes are down to 10 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had complaints, but we're doing a lot of parking lanes along high-speed roads that are signed for 25.
Yeah.
So instead of having a 20-20 road, we end up with a 10-10 road with a place for the people.
Exactly.
And that's what we've been doing on a lot.
Well, that's good. Now, it's also a benefit to the state to do that. When motorists come and are given permission to come right to the edge of the road, they're wearing out the road. The road, to have a strong integral structure and hold together, should keep motorists away from the absolute edge. So it's actually a big money savings if we could just move the lane line in a foot tighter. Now the motorists are driving where they really should, and the road stays more together. The question comes up, and especially as a bus stop, and with this many homes and people trying to get across the street, and this volume of traffic, and we could go up there and stand in the crosswalk and see how long it takes for a motorist to yield to us. My suspicion is that the speed will take a little while.
Right, like yellow guys. Two police officers.
Yeah.
Well, let's try it. Should we try it? See where the crosswalk is? It's not at the street. And the reason it's not at the street is there's so much radius on this corner that it would lengthen the crossing distance. But by putting the crosswalk where it is, so let's go up and take a closer look at that. Look at the radius.
make a perfect sense.
Yes, for sure. So the radius on this corner invites the motorist to exit the road at a high speed, and then hides the pedestrian. So this is a setup for a very sad tragedy that can occur here. A correctly designed radius would be more like the one you see on the other side. So that is a better designed corner than this by far. And just eyeballing this, if we started the crossing where we should to be within sight of the driver, then this would also be about 45 or 50 feet. But for the pedestrians, it's a double whammy because you're inviting the motorist to make the turn at a high speed. So we really want to make sure in the future that we don't create in our neighborhood areas high-speed right-hand turns for the motorist. And now we'll go over to the other side and see what's going on that side.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. What, into the bushes?
Ends in the bushes.
Yeah, they made the ramp. All right, all the way around here. If they make the ramp here, then this crosswalk can be straight. So that side got no ramp. It's this side that the ramp makes this crosswalk.
We got hit, someone died or got hit during the safety.
Guys, let's move with a purpose, please. It's like we failed the queue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Correct radius to have a safe crossing for pedestrians would be somewhere between 15 feet and maybe 20 feet. And again, notice how fast the motors can make this exit. And I'll measure the street in a minute. It's going to be probably 38 or 40, maybe even 44 feet across. And again, that creates a huge danger, a fast exit from the road, and a lot of exposure. Now we could do a couple things to make this a safer crossing without changing the radius. The easy one would be to put a median island in the center to separate the two directions, the people exiting versus the people entering. That way the pedestrian only has to cross halfway, but we still have the high-speed turn, which is a real serious problem. Now, do the homes that are on this street that got built connect with the next set of homes? And that's another problem. That's a huge problem. If we don't require our developers to make the connections, then everybody has to come out here.
Or they can come out there. And go back, it is a cross street.
Yeah. So in our historic neighborhoods, like some really nice ones in Kailua, we have better street connections. So it's the kind of pattern we want to change long term, so that when we build new homes, people don't have to come out here. They can.
These homes came long after the river was covered with homes all the way out. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And some of these historic patterns, they just keep getting repeated.
It seems like we need to have Department of Lands here too, because
Yeah.
they have authority over their land.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's now measure this crossing. I think it would be a better place to cross. Okay. So this intersection, once I measured it, we found it's 67 feet. That's huge. And again, we can do the work that needs to be done for getting cars in and out of neighborhoods with 30 feet. So we spent a lot more money and we made a lot more dangerous by accepting these radii. And they're probably the normal standard the state likes to do in order to get cars out of the road faster so that the traffic will move faster. It should be around 30, 32, 34. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, half the width that you see here. Yep.
So Chairman Hall?
Yes.
Because Waimanalo Village is there, then are these the crosswalks the kids would use to find a sidewalk to get to school?
Yes.
Okay, so
They
it's
come
kids.
across here, or they walk down the side here and go across by the shopping center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're talking little legs, yeah?
No,
Have
kids
they-
and parents.
Kids and parents.
Now,
Okay.
let's come down to here.
Excuse me. Get quiet.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'm moving. That's a long way, yeah, to travel.
Okay. Now, we crossed over there. We're real close to a curve in the highway. The motors are going more than 25. I'm wondering, and let's get our DTS engineer over here. Can you come and help us?
That's Jay.
Jay? I'm sorry, Jay. I'm just about to reflect on the fact that the crosswalk is on that side. I'm wondering if we improve the sight lines a little bit by having it on this side and have it where people are trying to get to. See what I'm saying? Where it's sitting now, it's so close to the curve, but here you get a little more sight line. The motors would see the pedestrian better, pedestrian would see the motors better.
The only thing I see that wouldn't be a good idea is if you have people standing at the bus stop, how are people going to know if they're waiting for the crosswalk or waiting for the bus?
You got that. That's a great observation. And so, yes.
And then what about people like making a right? Like just turning. Like,
And that's what we pay attention to
They don't.
is the volume of people turning right.
They just look that way to not hit a
Yeah.
car. They don't just look at car.
Right, and it's not a simple answer. But what I do want to say is when we decide where to put a crosswalk in, we need to think of all these things. So if there's a real high right turning movement, but not as much of a turning movement from that side, then we try to keep the pedestrian out of harm's way by having it on that side. But we're still getting to where we have more issues with sight lines and things like that. So now look up the sidewalk. Notice how difficult that would be for a mom pushing a stroller or a person in a wheelchair. So we look at the depth of the driveways. Are the driveways actually required to be deep enough that motors aren't backed into the sidewalks and shoving the pedestrians out into the street? These are all important things to notice.
Hang out to come to feel a sense of this is Waimanalo.
Come on in, folks. So I just measured this intersection. This is 40 feet across versus 67. Versus, I think we came up with about, there. So this is a better designed intersection. Less exposure. The motors don't turn as fast.
And this is a very, very busy intersection.
And it's very busy.
For the market,
Yeah.
for the residents.
And
Exactly.
Thielen Hill.
Exactly. So What we'd like to do is see which things are built better, safer, and do that as our standard and get away from intersections that are faster and wider and less acceptable for people who are trying to walk or to get in and out of the neighborhood.
Intersections that are wider, medians wouldn't help.
They could, and that may be a good retrofit in some cases.
Yeah.
Like the one back there. But we also want to slow down the right turning exits so that it's much safer for the pedestrian. So, but we can do both. And it's even possible, where's our DTS guy? Jay?
Jay. You're the man, Jay.
Have you had much success with painted curb extensions to get the motors to slow down?
Yes, we've actually brought the curb out further, so when they turn, they got to make more of a 90-degree turn.
Okay.
However, it's only paint, so they can go over the line.
Yeah.
But once in a while, if we do have people constantly killing the paint, we'll put delineators around them, and they'll run that over in about 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
But at least it's something.
So that may be something that could be done immediately for the neighborhood with a little bit of additional funding from, say, the city council. And there may be funds in the state, because this is a state highway, to put in curb extensions that are paint. 2 or 3, see how it works. If it looks like motors are honoring it, home run. If the motors are not honoring it, put in what looks like half bowling balls. And now the motors don't want to go for a thump, and see if that does it. And then if that doesn't work, build the true curb extensions, which can be made very attractive and really help improve the neighborhoods. So we like to look at where the conflicts are the highest and the most complex for the pedestrian to deal with, and treat those areas first. And treating this road is going to be very, very important. So, but there's some immediate early wins that you could design and get in.
I know down by his area on the Nakini Street area, they've been doing that, knocking down the signs and stuff like every couple of days, every time they go up. I think the bumpy balls and curb extensions and maybe even a island in the middle for the pedestrians crossing at that particular intersection might be a good treatment, because we have a lot of elderly in particular. Like one of the most dangerous crosswalks on this whole street. Kalani on the Ole. Right by that 7-Eleven on the other side.
Sorry.
Okay, well, let's head on up. Everybody stay on the sidewalk.
Over here. We're walking to danger. Stay on the
At signalized intersections, there are a whole bunch of things I like to look for. One of them is, right now it's green, but it's only green for the motors. It's not letting the pedestrian cross. Is there a button for us to push?
Press a button.
There is. Yeah, Laura, push the button. So how do we activate the system?
You go that way. Usually walk over
But they put the signal up for the pedestrian.
The pedestrian
How
gets
do
to
we
go-
activate it?
The pedestrian gets to go when the light first turns green. They get a certain amount of time to go.
Okay, let's
And then
see
it
if
does
that
a-
happens
And then it does
in
a
this
countdown for them. But people think while it's doing the countdown that they can walk. Once that red palm goes up, they're not supposed to step into the crosswalk already. Yeah, I hope this one has a countdown.
Well, this does have a countdown, but here's my question. How do we activate it?
Right. No, yeah. Once it turns red, they're not supposed
Is there a button?
That's why the motorists get mad.
Okay,
That's why these guys get
okay, now let's watch it. That's the release phase. That means you can enter, by law, you can enter. Now it's counting down.
There's a countdown. That's it. They cannot walk in there.
But here's the point. Once
They're
that
in there.
ends,
Tell them there you got X amount of seconds.
we want to
get
see if it stays green for the motor. It does. This is unfair. And this is why a lot of pedestrians will not come to a signal and cross, because the motorist is being allowed to go, but they're being told there's no way for you to activate it. You're going to have to wait here for a whole cycle, even though the motors keep going and going and going.
But that's what the people trying to make the right turn. That's why they do that.
And another reason why a lot of pedestrians will stay away from the intersections and cross mid-block, which is what we want to avoid. So we need policies by the state DOT that support people coming to the intersections to cross. I'm just saying, this is wrong. And yes, we want the motorists to be able to make their turns, but we're prioritizing the motorists over the pedestrians.
Watch this one. It does not allow them to cross because it's right down the side.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's a code down on that.
Yeah. But I want to make sure everybody understands what I'm saying. We want pedestrians to come to the station that we're going to put all the engineering into.
Oh, she's with us.
But we don't do the engineering, then the pedestrians will cross mid-block somewhere else. And that will lead to some sad events that we don't want to have happen. So when we evaluate an intersection, we want to make sure it's also working for pedestrians. And this one, unfortunately, is not. Yeah. Now, I want to point out a few things that caught my eye in the last 100 yards. What is it that I feel very bad about the way it was designed? Looking this way. And it's on both sides of the street.
Guardrail.
The guardrail is on the wrong side of the sidewalk. A motorist goes out of control, they will be guided along the guardrail, scooping up every single time. If the guardrail were on the other side and we put the sidewalk behind the guardrail, the children are protected.
And then
that needs to be a standard. And again, they're only thinking of the safety of the motorist. They're not thinking of the safety of the pedestrian, right? So these are the things that when I lead a walking audit, I know I'm going to find, because too many people who work in engineering are only thinking of protecting the motorist. And now if there were a big event and 2 or 3 or 4 children were killed here, they'd look at their standards again. But this is just not right, that people don't think about the safety of those most at risk.
Right below the 76 sign, on the bottom white thing, that's a memorial.
Oh.
A moped driver was killed here. We've had about 2 or 3 killed here, but that's one of the memorials.
There's just so much traffic and too much speed. So everything I'm seeing, let's get the speed down. You're in a community, and now let's get the design right, and now we build the sidewalks that'll be supportive. Yeah. By the way, we've already had one of us fall today, and I see some rugged terrain ahead. So be very careful. Okay, let's head on up. Yep. Come on in, folks. Now that we're out of the village and we look back on the village, and this is a longer term opportunity, that intersection, if the adjacent property owners were willing, could be a beautiful roundabout. So that you're even up here, you're already slowing down because it looks like the road ends. And what a beautiful backdrop with the mountain. Now the children could easily get across the street. You wouldn't have all the noise of the starting and the stopping of the traffic. You'd handle everything, and people would start to respect this as a real place in the country versus, you know, just a suburban place.
Over here, most of the speed is dictated by traffic.
That's it.
So morning traffic, afternoon traffic, and midday traffic.
Now the good news is roundabouts will handle 30% more traffic. Yeah, but do it slower. Now, let's talk about the adjacent land uses. Motorists will tend to drive faster when there are no homes, when there are no things at all to look at. All we have is walls on both sides. Now my suspicion is the developers, the builders of the homes, are responding to a bad road. So do you see the interplay? If you have a road that makes a lot of noise and creates a lot of danger, the only way the developer can build the buildings is to put the back end of the buildings and then build walls, which means the motors go even faster and create more danger and so on. So when we get to a portion of Honolulu that was very carefully, very well laid out, then we see how much different the behavior is. But some of these things are going to be hard to immediately correct. So one thing we must do is focus our monies on those places where most people want to go to, want to congregate, want to get across the street. And so what we saw down there is really the heart of it all. Okay. So I just measured this crossing. It's 40 feet. So much better than 67, right? And the motors do fine here. So this is what we need to do, is look at which designs are really inviting people to walk and safety, which ones do not, and now make that the code what's required for future development. By the way, my suspicion is that these streets are better connected. They appear to be that they're side streets that connect this neighborhood. No?
No. These are all enclosed. All enclosed.
Okay, all enclosed.
This is your
when I see block.
Ingress, egress right here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But what about, does this connect to another street?
There's a number of blocks this way. This
that's what I'm
This
saying.
is the whole plantation area.
Okay.
Well, this was the main shopping center of town. The market, the tavern, the hardware store, the barber shop.
All right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Service station.
Let's walk in one block. I think we'll see a lot of things. Okay, let's walk in one block. That's why I'm not. Okay.
Visual.
What's the first thing you notice when we leave the big highway?
No noise.
Yeah. Now it feels like we're in a village, and it is cooler. It appears that there could be access to the school for the children to walk down this street.
No. There's no access for the kids, but there is an open driveway there. And sometimes they have the gate that's open, and sometimes it's not.
Okay.
Because they enter through the back, and they're not sure of the safety of the back.
Okay. Yeah. My personal feeling is every time we can get the children away from the busy highway, it's a home run.
Best. Yep. It's best.
So if we can create this as a primary walking route for the children and have access to the school, all the times the children need to have access, it's safer.
Well, it covers a whole lot of kids in this area.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
And this is the only crosswalk that you have to worry about for the other side.
Right.
Yeah.
So we could have a really good crossing for the children, for all the children who live on the other side to come in and now get to school this way.
Yeah.
Now, what's at the end of that street where I see
gully.
the fence? A gully.
Yeah.
That's where you put in a bridge for the children.
Well, it's a flood gully, so water can rise anywhere from 4 feet to 50 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you need to build a bridge so that it handles what nature will
You're not
deliver.
that far off. They tried to build condominiums in there, in the gully. Yeah.
Bridge sounds better. Cheaper too.
Okay, but do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We can have a much safer route for the children.
That would be a far safer route.
Oh my gosh.
Because right across of that, if you built a bridge, there's apartments on your left.
Yeah.
Whole number
so
of
you can
apartments.
get the children in without going out where they're in danger. Everybody come out here and join me in a minute after this car gets through. Form a circle around me.
You can make a roundabout.
Roundabout.
Form a circle around me. Yeah, let's be round. Hold hands. Yeah. This is going to be round. So, this is a mini circle. Very inexpensive. Seattle puts them in for $15,000. or less. They're gardens. There can be a tree in them. And this is what keeps the speed of traffic low. The motor seat, and here, in fact, here comes a volunteer. And here comes another volunteer. Let him go ahead and go around. Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's two.
We brought people into Hawaii, and people contacted them and took care of their neighborhoods.
And we can activate those plans. We know where to get a hold of those plans.
Should be somewhere in the city or state.
And so, isn't this beautiful? $15,000. You do one at a couple intersections. The motors come in. They respect the neighborhood. This is a garden.
How about the sewer? Do you use spots?
These can be brought up higher. Yeah. So they put extenders on them and cap them out.
Yeah, doesn't it cost less than that?
Oh yeah.
Did it in Kaneohe?
Yeah.
I don't think it costs even $5,000.
It may not.
Dan,
You don't,
Yes.
do you leave the stops
But
at
you
the
plant
side
beautiful
streets?
plants on them and stuff. But isn't this cool?
You don't.
Okay.
No one stops there.
Everyone who drives in and out of this street
I don't understand.
knows everyone who lives here.
What do you do though when this truck's going that way and a truck's going out here? Does this just yield to the?
Yes.
just yield?
Whoever's in the circle always
But there's
controls
no
the right of way.
no stop.
No stop signs at all. So this is really the safest way for the children to be able to arrive at their school. And if the gate would then have a sidewalk too, would invite the children here, it'd just be so much safer. So this is the kind of thing we like to work out on the Safe Routes to School project. That we find a quiet, wonderful place for the children. We link the streets. In this case, we could be using Safe Routes to School money to build a bridge, but it's going to take a lot of work by a lot of people to understand the value and the benefit of that. Yeah. Many more people would start walking if they could have a pleasant, quiet place. It's safer for the neighborhood too because you have more eyes on the homes and everything, right?
It saves a life, it pays for itself.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So can we walk out to the street from here?
You can.
Seconds, guys.
This is another tricky spot there. Exit the church. Yeah. What the smart ones do is they run out, they press the light, and it stops the traffic, then you go.
Okay. This is really good. It's a really smart place to have traffic signals to help the children get across the street. And by the way, you can have the same treatment down at that other intersection where we first turned into the neighborhood. Both are good locations for helping the children get across the street. These are not expensive signals to put in. You don't even need this much equipment. You could do it very well using a post mounted on that side, post mounted on this side.
Cross lights.
Or
We really have those cross lights.
Have the cross lights, yeah.
So they can see it at a distance.
Yeah. And I think the important thing is this is working, you know.
This is absolutely working.
Yeah. There are a couple more things that I would recommend, and they're inexpensive. So we have the school sign, an arrow on this side. On the back of that sign, you could put another sign, so the motors see it from both directions, and then do it on the other side of this pole too. So we look for ways that we can increase the motor's alertness, awareness, and responsiveness. I find this interesting. We have a bus pull out. The bus pull out. The bus pulls out of the roadway. And we tend to do that.
And you have a pull out, the driveway right there. Is the
right.
outflow.
Yeah. But what would be interesting is to come back when there's a bus actually comes in and see if they pull out. If the motors won't let them back in the traffic, the bus drivers learn not to get out of the road. And it's just...
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the other traffic. And then convoys going to the
Army base?
Marine training facility.
Okay. Okay. Good. We've seen a lot on this walk, haven't we?
Thank
Yeah?
you, mahalo.
Yes.
You're very
yes.
right about the buses.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They're frustrated enough, they'll just stop.
They
them.
won't even pull out.
And I don't blame them. So we have to have motors. I think at one time the back of the buses had a big sign saying, "Let me back, let me in, it's law."
Really?
And if they haven't done it here, they're doing that in Seattle. And then they get better compliance. And if a police officer sees a motorist not let the bus back in, they get a big ticket. So
The other danger we have for kids is the school buses, when they stop and the lights are flashing, both sides of traffic are supposed to stop.
yeah,
The side that doesn't have the bus doesn't always stop.
and it should.
Yeah, and it should. Yeah. For the safety of the children.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I think some of the buses now have video camcorders, and it may be that the law allows
Flash and then on the side of the bus.
the police to write a ticket as long as it's been video recorded that car. Is that the law in Hawaii? Not today,
Yeah.
but in some states it is.
We actually have to witness the violation.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Okay. So engineering is the starting place. But if you get good engineering, then it's easy to enforce the law. If you don't have good engineering, our officers can't begin to enforce the law, right? So, okay, let's walk back to the village. Okay. Now that we're down here, we can see the complexity of this intersection. I still am convinced we should model it for a roundabout. It would make it a true village center. I mean, this really is the heart of the community commercially, right?
Commercial.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay. Okay.
What do you suggest with mopeds? Do you think they should drive in the bike lanes, or they said that there's a couple of moped accidents?
Yes. Yes.
Where should mopeds go?
are a very tough issue for bike lanes. Bike lanes are meant for people who are not driving or going as fast and so on. So mopeds, mopeds should have enough horsepower to do well in low-speed traffic and not be in the bike lanes.
So if traffic gets slower, then it will be safer for mopeds to just ride in
Like
regular traffic. Right.
Yeah,
Technically, they're supposed to.
Right.
Or alongside.
Well, actually,
All
they can use
mopeds
bike
are
lanes.
legal.
Right.
They're allowed to go in bike lanes.
Okay, so did everyone enjoy it? Did you get, Yes. It was helpful? And here's what I'm going to recommend, that the original traffic calming study that was done, I believe, 10 years ago, the traffic calming study was done about 10 years ago.
A little bit longer.
Well, maybe a little bit longer. That we get those resuscitated, pull them back out of the files. The DTS should have all the original traffic calming studies, correct? They were done for DTS.
Not all,
Oh, really?
but the ones that I think that are pertinent that were, yeah, they have them.
Okay.
Whether they can find them or not, I don't know. Like,
Okay.
if it's like 60 years old, I don't know.
No, they're only 10 or 12 years
Yeah,
old.
oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
told
He's
they
got
have.
a huge list of streets in Waimanalo that are getting resurfaced.
Oh, good. Let's start with those. Right? All right. Here's the
I
answer.
wanted to look at what streets we hit and how many streets, and this is only a small tip of the iceberg. I got like at least 6 pages of streets that's going to be resurfaced.
Here. Yeah.
I'm just thinking, think about if paved
Yeah.
The project starts